Okay, we're done blocking in the greens and purples. Now I'm going to go on to blocking in the water and the sky. So I need to clean off my palette first. I have a handy tool, it's a razor blade, that'll help me scrape some of this off. I think I'm going to use a little bit larger brush. This is a number 12 flat. For the sky, I'm going to use basically titanium white and cadmium yellow medium. I want the water to be a little bit darker than the sky. There'll be a little bit of cadmium red added to that too when I get there. A little bit of liquid in there. We'll try that out. Let's try and make this, adjust this color a little bit. Yep, I think that'll work for now. Like I said, this is just the block in. We have to be careful on this green, and your what they call sky holes are generally a little bit darker than what the sky is. If you paint them the same color, they'll pop out with all that dark green around it. So we need to make it slightly darker. The coral colored tone canvas helps somewhat here. The trick to this is trying to get these sky holes, as they're called, varied and not repetitive. Okay, that's good enough for now. I'm going to go down to the water. Like I say, I want that a little bit darker than the sky. I want that edge to be soft. A good tool for that is this. I'll add a little bit of some cadmium red medium to that. Remember to always take breaks as you're painting. That's one thing nice in the studio. You do have time to get back from it, take a break, and when you come back, you can see some things you want to improve on. Let's get a little bit of some white and a little bit of yellow ochre. I'm going to go down and add some of the highlights here in the sand. It's a little too light. Pick up a little bit more. I like to use the side of my brush a lot too. It needs to have a little more of that purple in it. So I'll add a little permanent rose to the cadmium red and the yellow mixture that I had there. And we'll bring it up a notch later if needed, or tone it down. All right, now we've completed the block in, and the next step is to go back over these areas and fine tune everything with values, colors, shapes, just redefine everything, slow down, and put it all together. I'm going to start using softer brushes now. With the initial block in, we use the bristle brushes because they can take a beating on your canvas. Now, laying on top of wet paint, we need softer brushes. So I'm going to the mongoose and sable brushes that I have. I think I'll start with a 20 Isabey It's a filbert, which is a nice tapered edge. And I'm going to go into the darks first, just like we started in the beginning. So let's start with yellow, cadmium yellow, ultramarine blue, maybe a little cadmium red light. There are some warmer areas in these bushes here on the painting, and I want to pick some of those up. I want to bring these bushes in front of the tree. And I like to do the strokes. You can see I'm going up and down in my strokes now, taking my time. This is the way the bushes are growing. We work our way up slowly. You can see how the softness of this brush, I can lay the color down on top. If I had used a bristle brush, it would tend to lift off that bottom color. So wherever I see this particular color, I'm going to lay it down. And try not to make too many strokes. Try laying it and leave it. That way, some students, when they start out, they keep scrubbing the same color into the other colors and they end up with mud. If you try not to mix it too much, get the right color and value if you can to begin with. Take the time. Some strokes you can make horizontal, some vertical. It depends. You can vary your strokes. Now let's make a little bit cooler green here with some more yellow and blue and not so much red. You don't want to get too detailed at this point. We're going to bring some of the detail out later on in just a few areas. Sometimes I twist my brush around because as I get into the sky color, I'm picking up part of that yellow. And so I will turn my brush around a little bit so I get to the other side where some of the color is. I want to put in some of the warmer areas that I see. There are some rust colors. Add a little bit of some Terra Rosa to this mix. By using the same mix and adding to it, my painting becomes more harmonized. You see, I can bring in some of that warmth. It needs a little more warmth. Maybe I'll try some cadmium red light and a little cadmium yellow medium. Both of those will help. The color I'm looking for in the bushes, I see a lot of warmth. There are some siennas, some rusty looking colors, and I want to bring in warm greens, cool greens, all different colors, because if it was all one color of green, it would be boring, it would be uninteresting to look at. I want people to look at it and say, oh, look at all the different subtleties of color that she's laid in there and that she's found those. Did she see those colors? Yes, I did. Being there in person, doing the study, gave me that information that I laid down all those color notes that I saw. I don't want to overdo it. In some cases, the sun is hitting some of the tops of these little bushes here and creating a nice warmth. We want the painting to look better than what the photograph is. I'm going to work on this little green patch in the front. It's a little bit lighter. And I think I'll bring in a little cooler green. So I'm going to use a little bit of this cadmium yellow lemon with the ultramarine blue. And you can see that that cooler yellow makes for a cooler green. Let's try a little bit and see. See, that's a cooler green. If it's too cool, I'll add a little bit of the warmer yellow. We want to keep some of our darks. We don't want to cover them all. You know, if you don't have your darks, then your lights aren't going to show up. So work slowly, work up. When we're outdoors painting, one thing to be aware of, you tend to want to paint everything you see. You have to simplify. You have to leave out everything you don't need. Just put in what you need to make your statement and leave everything else out. Maybe 5 or so big shapes, and then leave out everything else, or it gets too busy. Now, looking at this, I've noticed that I need to put some more darks in the bushes right against the water. We're always making corrections as we go. If we see something we missed, we put it back in. It's very tempting to go to a little tiny detail right away, but you have to reserve that towards the end. I'm just kind of tickling the edges just a little bit while the paint is still wet. Then alongside the bottom of the bushes down here, it's a little darker underneath because the light's not hitting it. We want to stagger the edges down into the sand of the bushes. If you get into your other paint or whatever, it's better to just like wipe it off instead of keep painting into it, or scrape it off with your palette knife. Works well too. And then go over it. There might be a little bit more sienna underneath those bushes too from the dark sand. I don't want to keep everything the same edges. That's why I'm letting some just blend in and bringing those others a little more sharper. Like that. That sets the bushes down with having that little bit of a shadow underneath them. Other than that, they'd look like they were floating. Little grasses like to grow out into the sand like that. I'm always comparing values, colors. Take the time to get away and look at your work and just study it for a while. There's some beautiful flowers in the front here, but I'm going to save those till last.
Now available to buy. Try these techniques at home whenever you wish. The extended DVD of today's workshop is now available from the Painting and Drawing channel. For further information and to order your copy, go to www.paintingdrawingchannel.com.